So it's Jarred Up January, and I've got another canning video for you. Now I'm really excited about this, and I'm going to tell you the truth. I've never done this before, so I'm really not sure how it's going to turn out, but I'm hoping for the best. So y'all just stick with me. I'm going to be canning apples, and the difference between this is the process, and you're supposed to be able to your apples are supposed to come out maybe a little bit crisper and not as mushy as your regular canned apples. Now I've got apple butter and I've got apple pie filling in my pantry, and they're all good, but you know that the apples end up just a little bit mushy. So when I seen this, I thought, you know, this is a good idea, because I would love to have canned apples in the pantry that if times got hard enough, or even if, you know, we can't run to the store every other day to get fruit and vegetables. So if I'm out of apples, I can open a jar up and I can eat them just like they are, just like if I was, you know, cutting an apple and eating it for a snack. I can cut them up and put them in my chicken salad, which I like. I like putting apples and grapes in my chicken salad. Let's see, I can make fried apples out of them. There's just so many things that you could do with these apples. So hang with me, and I'm going to go through the process with you, and I'm going to hope for the best through the whole thing. And when we're done, we're going to taste them, and we're going to compare them and just see. So this should be fun and a little bit interesting too. So let's get started. The first thing you need is a big crock to layer all your apples in. Now you don't have to have a glass crock like I've got. You just need maybe a food grade bucket, 5-gallon bucket, or even half that size, or you can use a crock, whichever you got, that you can layer your apples and sugar in. I've got about 9 pounds of apples, so we'll see if I can get them all in my crock. And I got most of my apples cut, but I want to show you, if you've got a brown spot or bad spot in your apple, cut it off and just slice your apples. When I read the recipe, it said 1/8 of an inch thick, but I like them thicker than that, and I think probably the thicker the better. Not sure. We'll see when we get done. I got all my apples cut up, and in my bowl I had water and I had lemon juice in it to keep them from turning brown, and so far they're doing really good. So that's 9 pounds of apples. Okay, we're going to start layering our apples, and this is a very easy process. And I do this with strawberries too, but I'm going to take about 5 cups of cut up apples, and that'll be my first layer. I know it's not going to be approximate, but you know, as long as you get it close. So 5 cups of apples, and you can take anywhere from 1/2 cup to 3/4 cup of sugar, and that's your next layer. And you just keep layering like this, back and forth, till you get your till you get your apples done. And from what I've seen, I'm probably going to have about 9 pounds is going to probably fill it halfway full. So once I see how I like this process, next time I'll do double. But I just wasn't sure, so I didn't want to do a big batch. So more apples, 5 cups, and I'm putting about 1/2 cup of sugar. Like I said, 1/2 cup to 3/4. And we'll put another layer. Now when I can my strawberries during the summer when they come off, I do the same thing. And I just leave them out overnight, covered up, till the next day, and that's when I can them up. So this is pretty much the same process, except you're supposed to be able to have crispier apples after the process. And the process calls for Waterbath canning, not pressure canning. Now, after this is set for 12 to 24 hours, you're going to have quite a bit of juice in your jar. And it should be, the juice should cover, by the time it's done, it should cover the top of your apples. And at the end of your time, you're going to drain your apples. You're going to drain that juice into a pot. Save that juice. Don't throw it away. Because you're going to warm that juice up from your apples. And that's going to be part of the liquid that goes in with your apples before you can them. So I'm going to get the rest of these layered up. And we'll go on to the next step. 9 pounds ended up filling it up about halfway. And this is a 10-pound glass crock. And I do a lot of fermenting in this crock. And I put 2 plates to weight them down because a big plate wouldn't fit through the top. So I had to put 2 littler plates. And if it don't seem to be holding, you know, enough pressure down there on my apples, I might have to put a can on top of it and cover it up 12 to 24 hours. Here's my apples after 24 hours. And I've drained all their natural juices off into a stainless steel pot. And I've got them on the stove, and I've got it heating up. And I've got my Waterbath canner with my water in it. And I'm fixing to turn the heat up on it. And in here is the juice from the apples. And then there's 4 to 5 cups of pasteurized apple cider. And the apple cider has absorbent acid in it, which is vitamin C. So that will be the liquid that goes in my jars. So let's get started getting these apples. Okay, my jars are hot. My apples aren't. They're just at room temperature, but my jars are hot. But the liquid going inside will be hot. And I turn the heat up on my Waterbath canner. And we're going to fill the apples up to an inch headspace. So I'm just going to do 2 for right now. Get them filled up. And you may have to kind of push around your apples a little bit. Get them down. You don't want them tight. Now, you don't want your apples really tight down in your jar, but you just want to kind of push them down. And get as many in a jar as you can. I think I'm really going to like this way of canning apples. Just kind of push them down. You know, I was thinking, besides it being a good snack for the kids, you put a jar of this in the refrigerator and get them really cold, and it's going to be a really good snack. And say, for instance, you're needing to make a fruit salad and you don't have any apples. You can open up one of these jars and use them in your fruit salad. So there's just a lot of uses for it. I'm going to put a couple more apples just to make sure it's got about an inch headspace with the apples. So we got that done. I'm going to get the rest of my jars filled up. And then we'll come back and we'll put the liquid in and get this started. This process really doesn't take very long. And it's just pretty simple. Okay, my juice that we're putting in the jars over the apples, it's good and hot now. So we're just going to ladle it over the apples. And like I said before, the apples are to an inch headspace. But my liquid is going to be 1/2 inch headspace because I want that liquid to cover the apples really good. So 1/2 inch headspace on the liquid. And this liquid it smells really good. That apple cider is going to give it a good taste, and also the fact that it's got absorbent acid, vitamin C. So we're going to put, I'm probably going to have liquid left over. I just wasn't sure because I didn't know how many pints I was going to end up with, which I ended up with 8 pints. I was hoping for maybe a couple more pints. But out of 9 pounds, I got 8 pints of apples. And I will be doing this again if it turns out like the way I want it to. If it turns out the way I want it to, I'll double the recipe next time. Because I use apples in a lot of stuff. And this is going to be a good thing to have in the pantry for any reason. Especially if you find apples on sale. You know, and you're not wanting to put, you already got apple pie filling on the shelf. You don't need any more. So, you know, and apple butter. I've got quite a bit of apple butter and pear butter in the pantry. So, this is a good way to preserve your apples. So we're going to get the rest of this liquid in here. And when we get it all done, we're going to come in and we're going to debubble every one of them. It's a pretty easy process, pretty fast. Okay, we got everything debubbled. Now I'm going to take my rag with some vinegar on it, and I'm going to wipe the rims really good. Get all the sticky off so that your lids will seal good. And I always go around the side too, because even though I put a funnel on there, it seems to always drip some, especially when you debubble, you get it kind of sticky and messy. So it's very important that you take a clean rag and just take you some, whatever kind of vinegar you got, and just wipe around the sides. Now these are going to process in the Waterbath canner for about 20 minutes. Now these are pints, they're not quarts. It usually says 20 minutes for quarts and pints. And I've never ever had any trouble. I've always had things to seal good at 20 minutes. And there are some apple butters and stuff, they just water bath or 10 minutes, but I don't know. I always let mine go for 20 minutes. Now I've got warm lids, and we're going to get our lids put on. And they stick together really bad. You know, used to, they wanted you to bring your water to a boil and put your lids in really boiling water. But now they say that warm water is sufficient enough. And I always wash my rings good, make sure there's no dust or anything on them. It's just a good practice to keep anything that you're canning or canning with, keep it very clean and sterile. That way nobody gets sick. Now I'm going to put my rings on finger tight. And I reuse my rings several times before now if they do that mess of start rusting, I'll get rid of them. And some of my rings do it and some don't. And I also put vinegar in the water in my water bath because I've got very hard water. We got well water and it's got lime in it, so I always put some distilled vinegar in my water when I'm canning. And I put it in the water with my lids too. So just finger tight. And we're going to get them in the canner. And I got my water already boiling. Because once you get all these jars in there, it's going to slow down the boiling process. And then you get them all in there and you put your lid on, it'll come back up to a boil. And once it comes back up to a rapid boil, and I mean rapid, your water needs to be, always make sure mine's 2 inches above the top of the jars. And once it comes to a rapid boil, then I start timing it, but not before. And I know I've had a lot of my subscribers, they have the Waterbath canner, but they don't have a pressure canner. So this is one of them pantry items that you can Waterbath can. And I'm hoping it all turns out good too. So put your lid on and let it come to a rapid boil. And this is what I mean by a rapid boil. And it's going to do this for 20 minutes. I didn't film taking my jars out of the canner, but this is what they look like, and they really look pretty. I think they're going to look pretty on the shelf. The color is good, and I just really like it. Okay, Miss Lori's back, and we're going to talk about the apples. Of course, I'm doing this, the end of this video, the same day that I done the introduction. But I'm wanting to show y'all the difference between, this is my apple pie filling, and this is my apple butter, and this are my canned apples. Now we've done been eating on these, and so I've done put a different lid on it, and I also put them in the refrigerator too. And you say these are pretty good, aren't they?
They have the consistency of a kind of like a pear. You could take that particular apple and do whatever you wanted with it.
That's what I'm thinking. So will Miss Lori do this again? Yeah, I will. Especially if I find some good apples on sale, because it is worth it to have this in your pantry. There's so many things you could do with doing your apples this way. For one thing, just eating it as a snack. And like I said, I put this in the refrigerator and got them really cold, so they just taste really good. And you could get them out as a snack. You could get them out and put them in your chicken salads. You could put them in any kind of salad. You could fry them up for fried apples. Anything that you might need, you know, a couple apples or an apple for, this will work. And so it was, like I said in the beginning, it was my first time to do this, and I will be doing it again. So I'm glad it turned out. But it's like I told Mr. Brown, it's not going to have the consistency or the big crisp of a fresh apple that you haven't canned. You know, that snap, it's not going to have that. But it is not mushy, and it's really good. They turned out good. But, and I have also, what I'm thinking is, the thicker cut apples done better than some of them that I kind of got too thin. But they are, you know, you can do this to them, but you can tell they're not mushy. But you can break it, and you can see the consistency of the apple. And they taste really good. So I'm glad I done this, and I'll do it again. So I hope you like this video. And if you like apples and need a different way of preserving them, this is a good way, because there's so many things you can do with this jar of apples. There's limited things you can do to apple butter. We love apple butter. And of course, your apple pie filling. But this you can do a lot with. So anyways, I hope y'all liked this video. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it, and share it. There's so many good canners in this collaboration. It's just full of some of the best channels when it comes to learning how to can. And down in my description box is all the channels. And remember, we're going all the way through to the end of January with this. So look for them every day, and I'll have the list below for you. So y'all try it. Y'all seen it was an easy process too. So we'll see y'all sometime this week, and God bless everybody.